being a kid in the 80s and going to see Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I remember two things about that movie. One,
Chug a monkey pig.
and two, yeah, that was a kid's movie in the 80s. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fumbling Through the Galaxy with your host, Severus Snape. Today we're going to be looking at a Gentle Giant 1/6 figure scale bust of one of the most beloved characters from Star Wars Rebels, but one that has recently become very controversial, as are all things Disney Star Wars. Of course, if you haven't guessed already, I'm referring to Sabine Wren. Sabine in Star Wars Rebels was introduced as a fallen, disgraced member of the Clan Wren from Mandalore, who during her time at the academy there helped develop weapons that would eventually be used against her people, therefore having her being branded a traitor and forced to flee Mandalore. Years later in the Ahsoka series, Sabine actually is now a Jedi Padawan, trying to unlock her Force sensitivity, which she does successfully by the end of the show. So essentially, Sabine's story arc, for those of us who saw her from Star Wars Rebels, where she had absolutely no Force sensitivity at all, to now being Force sensitive, is one that is both complicated and controversial. On one hand, we had this version of Sabine.
The blade feels lighter.
You're connecting with it. It's becoming a part of you.
And we got this version of Sabine. So, did Disney break canon by making her Force sensitive? Can it be that she was always Force sensitive, but due to her emotional instability, was simply not able to access the Force, therefore blocking herself? Well, that's quite possible, actually. If you listen to what Obi-Wan Kenobi told Luke in the original New Hope movie, he makes it very clear that the Force flows through everything and every living being in the galaxy.
By all living things, it surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds the galaxy together.
So, while people might argue that Disney broke canon, I don't believe they did. I believe that, being a child of the original trilogy, that every being has the ability to tap into the Force. Some may be stronger than others, but they all carry that within them. And so seeing Sabine unlock that in Star Wars Ahsoka, to me, was completely and totally fine. However, I do recognize that for several people out there, it was canon breaking and yet another example of Disney kind of rewriting the lore. However, really at the end of the day, again, if you're a child of my generation and you remember the original trilogy, I cannot tell you how many of us absolutely hated the prequels when they came out. And one of the biggest reasons we hated it was this whole idea of a blood-borne ability to be Force sensitive. That somehow if you had this genetic trait, you were able to tap into the Force, which completely destroyed the mysticism that we had grown up and learned to love, that anybody could access it. So quite frankly, if you ask me, Ahsoka, going back to a more universal way of tapping into the Force, is actually much better and in line with what we grew up with. I can't tell you how much, again, that aspect of the prequels was hated, and is still hated to this day. So the fact that people, love to jump on Disney and say, well, they break canon and they do this and that. Well, at the end of the day, maybe they're writing a ship that was wrong, and wrong by no other than the creator himself. Okay? So, let's not pretend that everything Lucas did was gold. Anyhow, I digress. I'm interested. What is your opinion? Do you think that Star Wars broke canon when they made Sabine Wren Force sensitive and able to tap into the Force in Ahsoka? Or do you think it's coming back to the roots of what the Force has and always will be and should be, in my opinion, which is a universal constant that anybody can tap into given the right training and given the right philosophical approach. Anyway, I'd be interested. Leave me a comment. Would love to hear from you. So today actually, we're going to look at the Sabine Wren 1/6 scale Gentle Giant bust, which I think is actually one of their better busts. I think this has actually been updated recently, and they've actually done a second bust, if I'm not mistaken. You'd have to go to the Gentle Giant site and confirm that, but I feel pretty confident that's the case because she comes with a bit of a different accessories, and the face sculpt is definitely different. But this was the original one that came out, 1/6 scale, and it has her both in her Mandalorian armor with her helmet, and then it also has her without the helmet and the spray gun that she uses to graffiti and paint art. So what's really neat is, again, you know, she has the dark saber, which I think is one of the most important parts of the character. I'm a little disappointed so far that in live action we haven't seen her hold the lightsaber, so I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that does happen. But in any event, this statue, this bust, is yet another great example of Gentle Giant just nailing it, and also just, again, having their finger on the hands, or their finger on the pulse of the fans, and realizing what it is that we want and what we like. And certainly from the Rebels, you can't do Rebels justice without capturing Sabine, obviously, and capturing her right. Now, I will say that, you know, I actually display her with the helmet on, because I do like her with the helmet, and I just think it's, you know, such a kick-ass helmet that it looks better like that. But again, I'd be curious, do you have this? How do you display it? Do you display it with the helmet, without the helmet? Do you display it with the spray gun, the graffiti gun, or with her dark saber and blaster? Anyways, so before we get to the table and have a look at this, once again, please leave me your comment. Let me know, do you think that Disney broke canon with Sabine's Force sensitivity? And or, you know what, even then, let's talk Rebels. Let me know who your favorite Rebels character is and why. As always, subscribe, like, and share, and let's get to the table. Okay, so here we are at the table with the Sabine Wren 1/6 scale mini bust from Gentle Giant. As usual, we'll take a look at the box. As you know, say it time and time again, always collect in box, just because I love the box art. So here's Sabine, one of the looks, one of the options you have. Helmet off, spray paint gun, beautiful face sculpt, really, really nice. Back of the box, great shot from the show. Says Sabine Wren was a Mandalorian warrior, explosives expert, and graffiti artist. Qualities that came in handy as one of the rebels against the Empire. Part of the Ghost Crew, Sabine used her gift for bomb making to great effect against the Empire, and would often mark her work with spray paint tags. Her classic Mandalorian armor was notable for incorporating her own custom styling, reflecting her creative meets rebellious spirit. An absolutely wonderful piece. Let's get it out of box and take a look at it. Okay, so as always, when we're looking at Gentle Giant, and in fact, most collector items these days, when you're buying limited editions, you get these cards. Basically, this is certificate of authentication or authenticity, and tells you what number you are and how many were made. So this one is 686 of 3,000. And here's the bust. So this is basically Sabine in her Mandalorian warrior look and outfit. So of course she has her helmet on, blaster, and the dark saber. What I really, really love about Gentle Giant, and I've said it so many times, and I'll keep saying it, is the absolute level of detail that there is. I mean, even in the dark saber, you can kind of see these combat marks in the saber itself. The hilt is absolutely screen accurate. Her armor and tags are all absolutely dead on screen accurate. Love the detail in the backpack. Same thing, you've got these great designs here. And again, you know, her armor is dead on to the show, what we see, including the helmet. So let's take a look at her without her helmet on and see what other look she comes with. Okay, so here she is without any of her arms or head. In case you're wondering, show you the inside. Everything is a magnet system on Gentle Giant, like Kotobukiya in some of their pieces. I actually love that. You know, magnets are really, really strong. They don't degrade over time, and everything snaps into place really, really nicely. So here she is in her non-warrior pose with that wonderful head sculpt. Great looking helmet again. Dead on paint apps. What I love even is if you take off this arm here and we take a look at her, I don't know if that's coming up on camera, but her spray paint gun actually even has kind of some residual paint on it from being used. So I love just, again, the amount of detail that Gentle Giant puts into their pieces. So the one thing that you'll notice that's a little different from this one, from the Hero one that we looked at, as well as the Vader one, is the face sculpt. And specifically on other pieces from Rebels, the face sculpt is dead on to what we saw in the animated series. In this one, it absolutely seems like they took a little bit of creative license with it and decided to go with a more human approach and a less animation approach, which is really interesting. I don't mind, it doesn't bother me, but it is a little inconsistent with the other figures that they did for the Rebels, which are very much in the style of the animated look. And certainly this isn't a case where there's a likeness issue or anything because it's animated. Gentle Giant has obviously the license to make these, so they certainly don't have to worry about any licensing issues. This was just a creative choice. So as much as I don't mind this face sculpt, it's certainly the one that's least like the animated series of the Rebel bust that they've done. So there you have it. That is the Sabine Wren 1/6 scale animated bust from Star Wars Rebels. One of my favorite pieces in my collection. I absolutely love Sabine as a character in the show. I love that Gentle Giant captured her armor, her look, everything so well, both her warrior and non-warrior pose. I'm curious, you know, once again, who is your favorite character from Rebels and why? Again, do you think that Sabine broke canon? Really curious and interested in hearing your opinions on it. And until the next one, may the Force be with you always.